My name is Ethan Carter, and 5 years ago I made the biggest mistake of my life. I kissed Victoria Hayes. The worst part, I didn't regret it. Victoria Hayes was the woman everyone in Hayes Technologies feared. She was 32 years old, the youngest CEO in the company's history, and the person who turned a small startup into a billion-dollar empire. People called her the Ice Queen, not because she was cruel, because she never showed weakness. She never laughed during meetings. She never accepted excuses. And she never let anyone get close except me. I was her project manager, not her friend, not her family, not someone important enough to stand beside her. At least that was what I told myself. For 5 years, I worked beside Victoria. I saw things nobody else saw. Everyone thought she was emotionless. They were wrong. I knew she skipped lunch when she was stressed. I knew she drank black coffee when she was nervous. I knew she stayed in her office until midnight because she believed every decision she made affected thousands of employees. And somehow I became the only person who could tell her to stop. Victoria, you haven't eaten anything today. She didn't even look up from her laptop. I'm busy. You said that 6 hours ago. I'm still busy. I placed a sandwich on her desk. She finally looked at me. Are you ordering me to eat? Yes. The room went silent. 2 assistants standing nearby almost dropped their tablets. Nobody talked to Victoria Hayes like that, but instead of getting angry, she stared at me for a few seconds. Then she opened the sandwich. You're the only employee who thinks he can give me orders. I smiled. And you're the only CEO who actually listens. For a moment, I saw something different in her eyes. A small smile, almost invisible, but I saw it. That was the problem. I saw the woman behind the title and I fell for her. The night everything changed was supposed to be simple. Hayes Technologies had just closed one of the biggest deals in company history. Everyone celebrated, employees drank champagne, executives gave speeches, and Victoria stood in the center of the room looking exactly the way everyone expected. Perfect, untouchable, cold. I watched her from across the room. She was surrounded by people congratulating her. Everyone wanted something from her, a promotion, a connection, a favor. Nobody asked if she was happy. Nobody asked if she was tired except me. I walked over. You look miserable. She raised an eyebrow. That's your opening line. You're at your own celebration, and you look like you're planning a hostile takeover. A few people nearby stopped talking. They looked shocked. I realized I might have gone too far, but Victoria only stared at me. Then she said, "Maybe I am." I laughed. "You're impossible and you're drunk." I looked at the glass in my hand. "Maybe a little." "A little." She took the glass away from me. "You've had enough." I smiled. "You care about me." Her expression changed. Just slightly. "Ethan, what? Don't say things you don't mean." That sentence hit me harder than it should have because I did mean it. I cared about her more than I should, more than I could admit. Maybe it was the alcohol. Maybe it was 5 years of hiding my feelings. But that night, I stopped thinking. I stepped closer. Victoria looked at me. "Ethan." I didn't let her finish. I kissed her. For 1 second, everything stopped. The noise disappeared. The people disappeared. There was only her and me. Then reality came crashing back. I pulled away. Victoria was staring at me. Not angry, not shocked, just silent. And that scared me more than anything. "I'm sorry," I whispered. I immediately stepped back. I shouldn't have done that. She still didn't say anything. I turned around. I walked away before she could answer because running was easier than facing the truth. The next morning, I woke up with a headache and a terrible memory. The kiss. I sat on the edge of my bed for 10 minutes. Then I said the words every man says when he knows he destroyed his life. "I'm an idiot." My phone rang. It was my assistant at the company. "Ethan, are you coming in today?" I looked at the clock. Then I looked at the resignation letter I had written at 3 o'clock in the morning. No. There was silence. "Are you sick?" "No." "Then why?" I stared at Victoria's company ID card sitting on my desk. Because I couldn't face her. Because I had crossed the line. Because she was Victoria Hayes and I was just Ethan Carter. I'm leaving. My assistant froze. Leaving the company. Yes. But why? I didn't answer. Because how could I explain? How could I say? I kissed the woman who could destroy my career with one phone call. And the worst part was I wish she had kissed me back. I packed my things before sunrise. I didn't wait for a meeting. I didn't wait for an explanation. I sent my resignation email. Then I turned off my phone. I thought leaving would solve everything. I thought distance would make the embarrassment disappear. I thought Victoria Hayes would be relieved. I was wrong because that night someone knocked on my door. I opened it and my heart stopped. Victoria Hayes was standing there. The woman who never chased anyone. The woman who made billion-dollar decisions without hesitation. The woman who had every person in the world trying to impress her. She was standing outside my apartment looking at me, and for the first time in 5 years. She looked nervous. Ethan. I couldn't speak. She stepped closer. You really thought you could kiss me and disappear? My face turned red. I'm sorry. I crossed the line. Victoria stared at me. Then she said something I never expected. No. I froze. No. She looked directly into my eyes. You crossed my line 5 years ago. My heart skipped. What? She took a breath, then whispered. The day I realized I didn't want anyone else standing beside me. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Victoria Hayes lowered her voice. Ethan. Yes. She looked away for a second, then back at me. Coward. I almost laughed. Did you really come here just to insult me? No. She stepped inside, closed the door, and said, I came here to ask you something. I waited. She looked at me. The Ice Queen, the woman who controlled an empire, the woman who never begged anyone for anything. Then she said, when are you going to marry me? I forgot how to breathe. For 5 seconds, I honestly thought I had imagined it. Maybe I was still drunk. Maybe I had fallen asleep after writing my resignation letter. Maybe my brain had created the most impossible scene because I was too afraid to face reality. Because there was no way Victoria Hayes, the woman who made billion-dollar investors nervous, was standing in my apartment asking me when I planned to marry her. I stared at her. She stared back. Finally, I laughed. Not because it was funny, because I had no idea what else to do. Victoria. Yes. Did you just ask me when I'm going to marry you? Yes. You? Yes, Ethan. I ran a hand through my hair. Are you feeling okay? Her eyes narrowed. That was the Victoria everyone knew. The CEO, the woman who could silence an entire boardroom with one look. You're asking if I'm okay because this is not exactly normal. You kissed me last night and ran away. I looked down. That's why I'm sorry. She stepped closer. No. I looked up. No, Ethan, you keep apologizing for the wrong thing. I didn't understand the wrong thing. She crossed her arms. You think the problem is that you kissed me, isn't it? No. Her answer was immediate. The problem is that after 5 years, you still think you don't matter to me. Those words hit harder than I expected. Because maybe that was exactly what I believed. I had spent years standing beside Victoria, helping her, supporting her, protecting her reputation. But deep down, I always believed there was a wall between us. She was Victoria Hayes. I was Ethan Carter. She owned the company. I worked for it. She belonged in a world of private jets and billion-dollar negotiations. I belonged in a small apartment with unpaid coffee bills and a second-hand couch. Victoria, she sighed. For the first time, I saw frustration on her face. Not CEO frustration, not business frustration, something personal. You really don't understand, do you? I stayed quiet. She looked at me. Do you know why I never fired you? I frowned. Because I was good at my job. No. The answer surprised me. Because you were the only person who treated me like a person. I didn't know what to say. She continued, everyone around me sees Victoria Hayes, the CEO. Her voice became softer. They see my company, my money, my position. But you, she looked directly at me. You saw me. I swallowed. She walked toward the kitchen and noticed the empty counter. You didn't eat dinner? I blinked. What? You didn't eat? Victoria, that's what you're worried about right now. Yes. I almost smiled. Even after everything, she was still Victoria. Cold on the outside, but somehow always paying attention to the smallest details. You came here to tell me to eat? No. Then why? She looked at me. Because I thought you were going to leave without letting me answer. I froze. Answer what? She was silent. Then she said, the kiss. I had replayed that moment in my head 1,000 times. I expected anger. I expected rejection. I expected a formal meeting where she told me I was fired. But I never expected this. Victoria took a breath. When you kissed me, she paused and then ran away. I looked away. I know. I'm an idiot. No. She shook her head. You were scared. I looked back at her. She continued. And I was scared, too. That sentence shocked me. Victoria Hayes admitted she was scared. I thought you hated me. What? She looked down. You looked so embarrassed afterward. Because I thought I ruined everything. She gave a small laugh. You idiot. There it was. The first time I heard her laugh like that. Not the polite business laugh. A real one. You really thought I would hate you? I thought I crossed a line. She stepped closer. Ethan, yes. If I hated you. She stopped, then said, I wouldn't be standing here. The next morning, I still couldn't believe what happened because Victoria didn't just come to my apartment. She stayed. Not in the dramatic way. Not like some movie scene. She simply sat with me, drank coffee, and talked. The CEO who controlled thousands of employees sat on my old couch wearing my spare hoodie. And somehow, she looked happier than she ever looked in the office. You're staring. I quickly looked away. I'm not. You are? Okay, maybe a little. She smiled. You're still shocked I'm here. Yes. Why? I thought about it, then answered honestly. Because everyone thinks you don't need anyone. Her expression changed. And what do you think? I hesitated. I think you pretend you don't. For a moment, she said nothing. Then she leaned closer. You're dangerous, Ethan. I laughed. Because I kissed you? No. She shook her head because you see through me. 3 days later, something happened that changed everything. I went back to the company. I expected rumors. I expected awkward conversations. I expected everyone to know when they did. The moment I walked into the office, people stopped talking. My coworker Ryan walked over. Dude, what are you alive? I frowned. What kind of question is that? He looked around. You kissed Victoria Hayes. I lowered my voice. How do you know? Ryan laughed. Because the entire company knows. I covered my face. I'm finished. No. Ryan shook his head. You're the first person I've ever seen make her lose control. Before I could respond, Victoria's assistant walked over. Ethan. I turned. Yes. Victoria wants to see you. My stomach tightened. Now. Yes. I entered her office. Victoria was standing near the window. She didn't look angry. She looked serious. Close the door. I did. What happened? She looked at me. The board knows about us. My heart sank. Victoria, they think you're a problem. I stayed silent because I knew what came next. They would say I was using her. They would say I wasn't good enough. They would say I was a weakness. But Victoria surprised me. She walked toward me and said, let them. I looked at her. What? She smiled slightly. For 5 years, I protected this company. Then she took my hand, but now she looked into my eyes. I'm going to protect you. I didn't know it yet. But that moment was the beginning of a war. Because the people who hated seeing Victoria happy were about to discover something. The Ice Queen had finally found something worth fighting for. And she wasn't going to let anyone take me away. I had spent 5 years watching Victoria Hayes win battles. I watched her destroy competitors with a single presentation. I watched investors change their minds after one conversation with her. I watched executives who were twice her age lower their voices when she entered the room. Victoria was unbeatable. At least that was what everyone believed. But that morning, I saw something different. I saw Victoria Hayes preparing to fight for me. And honestly, that scared me more than anything because I knew what it meant. If she chose me publicly, people would attack her. They would question her judgment. They would say I was using her. They would say she had lost her mind. And Victoria knew all of that, but she still took my hand. "Victoria, you don't have to do this." I said it quietly. We were still inside her office. She looked at me. "Do what?" "Fight everyone because of me." Her expression became serious. "Ethan, do you think I'm protecting you because I have to?" I didn't answer. She stepped closer. "I'm doing it because I want to." I looked away. "That's exactly why I'm worried." "Why?" "Because you built everything you have, your company, your reputation, your entire life." I paused, and now people will say you risked it all for me. Victoria was silent. Then she asked, "Do you know what my biggest mistake was?" I looked at her. "What?" "Thinking I had to choose between success and happiness." That surprised me. Victoria Hayes was never someone who admitted mistakes. She continued, "I spent years proving I could do everything alone." Her voice became softer, but I never asked myself if I wanted to. I didn't know what to say because this wasn't the CEO everyone knew. This was Victoria, the woman who came to my apartment because she was afraid I would leave. The woman who admitted she was scared. The woman who wanted me. The board meeting happened that afternoon. I wasn't supposed to attend. At least that was the original plan. Victoria's assistant told me. "The board requested your presence." I immediately knew what that meant. They weren't inviting me. They were judging me. When I entered the conference room, everyone looked at me. There were 12 executives sitting around the table. Most of them had known Victoria longer than I had. The oldest board member, Richard Coleman, looked at me. "Mr. Carter." I nodded. "Mr. Coleman." He smiled, but it wasn't friendly. "We wanted to discuss recent events." I already knew. Victoria walked in behind me. The room became quiet. Richard looked at her. "Victoria, this is not personal." She sat down. "Then why does Ethan need to be here?" Nobody answered. That told me everything. Victoria leaned back. "Say it." Richard sighed. "Fine." He looked at me. "Many shareholders are concerned that your relationship with Ethan may affect your decisions." I expected Victoria to respond, but she didn't. She looked at me. Then she looked back at the board. "Is that all?" Richard frowned. "You don't understand the seriousness." "No." Victoria's voice was calm. "I understand perfectly." She stood up and then she said something nobody expected. "Ethan Carter is not my weakness." The room went silent. "He is the reason I remember I'm human." My heart stopped. Even I didn't expect that. Richard's expression changed. "Victoria, no." She interrupted him. "For years, this company succeeded because I made difficult choices." She looked around the table. "But today, I'm making another one." She placed her hand on the table. "I choose him." Nobody spoke. Not one person. Because nobody expected Victoria Hayes to say that. Not even me. After the meeting ended, I followed her into the hallway. "Victoria." She stopped. "Yes." "Why did you say that?" She looked confused. "Say what?" "That I'm the reason you remember you're human." She was quiet. Then she smiled because it's true. I shook my head. "You know people will talk. Let them. They'll say I'm not good enough." "Ethan." Her voice became firm. "Look at me." I did. She stepped closer. "Do you know why I chose you?" I stayed silent. "Because you never cared about my money." She touched my chest lightly. You argued with me when I was wrong. She smiled. You told me to eat when everyone else was afraid to speak. Then she whispered, you treated me like Victoria. Not CEO, not billionaire, not ice queen, just Victoria. But things weren't going to stay peaceful because someone else had been watching. Someone who hated seeing Victoria happy. Her name was Madison Reed. Victoria's former college friend and also the CEO of one of Hayes Technology's biggest competitors. That evening, Madison sent Victoria a message. One sentence. Are you sure Ethan loves you, or does he love what you can give him? Victoria ignored it, but Madison didn't stop. The next day, she released a rumor. A rumor that spread through the entire business world. The headline appeared everywhere. Hayes Technology's CEO falls for employee after secret relationship. People started questioning Victoria. Investors became nervous. Stock prices dropped. And suddenly the woman who never cared about public opinion started worrying not about herself, about me. That night I found Victoria sitting alone in her office. She didn't notice me at first. I knocked. She looked up. Ethan, you didn't answer my messages. She looked away. I was busy. I walked closer. No. She frowned. No. That's your excuse when you don't want to admit something. For a moment. She looked surprised. Then she smiled slightly. You really are the only person who talks to me like that. I sat down beside her. Are you worried? She didn't answer. That was answer enough. I took her hand. Victoria. Yes. I'm not leaving. Her eyes moved toward me. Even after everything, especially after everything, she stared at me. And for the first time since I met her, Victoria Hayes looked like she needed someone. Not as a CEO, as a woman. Ethan. Yes. She whispered, I'm afraid. I squeezed her hand, then be afraid with me. She leaned against me and I realized something. The whole world knew Victoria Hayes as an unstoppable woman. But only I knew the truth. The Ice Queen wasn't cold. She was just waiting for someone who would stay. And I had no idea that someone was about to try and take me away from her. I thought the worst part would be facing the rumors. I was wrong. The worst part was watching Victoria blame herself for something that wasn't her fault. For 3 days, she worked nonstop. She attended meetings, answered investor calls, handled interviews. She acted like nothing happened, like the entire world wasn't questioning her. But I knew her. I knew when she was pretending. And Victoria Hayes was pretending harder than ever. I found her at the office at midnight. Again. She was sitting behind her desk, staring at documents she had probably already read 10 times. Victoria, she looked up. Ethan, why are you still here? I crossed my arms. That's my question. I had work. You always have work. She looked back at the screen. I'm the CEO and I'm the person who keeps telling the CEO she needs sleep. A small smile appeared on her face. You're really stubborn. You like that about me. She didn't answer because we both knew I was right. I walked closer. Why are you pushing yourself? I'm handling it. That's not an answer. She stayed quiet. Finally, she said, because I can't let them be right. I frowned. Who? Everyone. She closed the laptop. They think I made a mistake. I looked at her. And do you? The question surprised her. No. Her answer was immediate. Then she looked down. But what if I hurt you? I froze. Victoria, you lost your job because of me. That's not true. It is. She stood up. You were happy before all this happened. I shook my head. No. She looked at me. No. No. I stepped closer. I was comfortable. That's different. Yes. I smiled because I wasn't happy. Her expression changed. Ethan, I spent 5 years pretending I was okay standing next to you while wanting more. I took a breath. I wasn't afraid of losing my job. I looked at her. I was afraid you would never see me. For a moment, Victoria said nothing. Then she whispered. I saw you. I smiled sadly. Not until I kissed you. Her eyes softened. No. She shook her head. I saw you the first day you joined the company. That surprised me. What? You were the only person who didn't try to impress me. I laughed. That's because I thought you hated everyone. She almost smiled. I did. Everyone. Almost. I raised an eyebrow. Almost. She looked away. You were different. The next morning, something unexpected happened. Victoria called an emergency company meeting. Everyone assumed she was going to address the rumors. They were right, but nobody expected what she would say. Hundreds of employees gathered. Executives stood on stage. Victoria walked out calm, confident, like the rumors didn't affect her. She looked across the room. Then she said, I know there have been discussions about my personal life. Everyone became silent. I know some people believe my relationship with Ethan Carter affects my ability to lead. I stood at the side of the room. I didn't know what she was planning. Then she said, they are wrong. A murmur spread through the crowd. Victoria continued, Ethan Carter has been one of the most valuable people in this company for years. She looked at me not as a CEO, as the woman who loved me. He challenged me when others were afraid. He supported me when others only wanted something from me. And he reminded me that success means nothing if you have nobody to share it with. Nobody spoke. Then Victoria said, I will not apologize for choosing someone who makes me better. My heart tightened because Victoria Hayes, the Ice Queen, was publicly choosing me. But after the meeting, things became even more complicated because not everyone was impressed. Richard Coleman called me into his office. I already knew it wasn't good. Sit down, Ethan. I did. He placed a folder on the desk. What is this? Your resignation package. I stared at him. You're firing me? No. He leaned back. I'm giving you a chance. A chance to leave before this destroys Victoria. My expression changed. You think leaving her protects her? Yes. I stood up. No. Richard looked surprised. No. I spent 5 years watching everyone around her tell her what she should do. I picked up the folder. I'm not going to become another person who decides her life for her. His face became serious. You don't understand the world Victoria lives in. I smiled. No. I placed the folder back. You don't understand the world Victoria wants. That night, Victoria found out. She came to my apartment immediately. You met Richard? I nodded. Yes. What did he say? I didn't answer. She already knew. Her face changed. He asked you to leave. I stayed silent. Victoria laughed softly, but there was no happiness in it. Of course. What? She looked away. This is exactly what I was afraid of. I walked closer. Victoria. She shook her head. No, Ethan. Her voice cracked slightly. I can fight competitors. I can fight investors. I can fight an entire industry. She looked at me. But I don't know how to fight the idea that I might ruin your life. I grabbed her hand. You're not ruining my life. She looked at me. Then why did you run away? The question stopped me. Because she was right. I had run. Not because I didn't love her. Because I was scared. I lowered my voice. Because I thought someone like you would never choose someone like me. Victoria stepped closer. Then she said, Ethan Carter. Yes. You still don't understand. She held my face. I didn't choose you because you were the best person for my company. A pause. I chose you because you're the best person for me. For the first time, I saw Victoria cry. Not dramatically. Not like someone breaking down. Just one tear. One small sign that the strongest woman I knew was finally letting herself be vulnerable. I wiped it away. I'm not leaving. She looked at me. Promise? Yes. Even when things get difficult. Yes. Even when everyone says we shouldn't be together, I smiled. Especially then, she finally smiled. A real smile. And then she kissed me. Not like the night I kissed her. Not because I was drunk. Not because I was afraid. This time she chose me. But neither of us knew that Madison Reed had one last move. A move that would test everything. Because the next morning, someone from Victoria's past came back. And this time, he wasn't trying to destroy her company. He was trying to take me away. The next morning, I woke up thinking everything had finally become simple. That was my first mistake. With Victoria Hayes, nothing was ever simple. A woman like her didn't build a billion-dollar company by having an easy life. Every victory came with a challenge. Every success came with someone trying to take it away. And this time, the person standing in our way wasn't a competitor. It was someone from my past. I arrived at Hayes Technologies early. Victoria was already in a meeting. I was checking some project reports when Ryan walked over. He looked uncomfortable. That was unusual. Ryan was the type of guy who joked during serious meetings and once got yelled at by Victoria for eating chips in the conference room. So when he looked serious, I knew something was wrong. "Ethan, what happened?" He hesitated. "There's someone asking for you downstairs." "Who?" He handed me his phone. On the screen was a news article. My expression changed immediately. The headline was simple. "Former girlfriend of Victoria Hayes' partner returns after years abroad." I stared at the photo. Madison Blake, my ex-girlfriend. The woman I dated before I joined Hayes Technologies. The woman who left me 4 years ago. I hadn't thought about Madison in years. Back then, I was just a young man trying to build a career. She wanted a different life, a richer life, a more exciting life. One night, she looked at me and said, "Ethan, you're a good person." I already knew that sentence never ended well. But good isn't enough. I remembered asking, "What does that mean?" She looked away. "It means I need someone who can give me the future I want." 3 weeks later, she left. I never begged. I never chased her. I just accepted that I wasn't the person she wanted. And now she was back. When I arrived in the lobby, she was standing there. Madison looked exactly the same. Confident, beautiful, perfectly dressed, but I felt nothing. Not anger, not sadness, nothing. She smiled when she saw me. "Ethan." I stopped. "Madison." She looked surprised. "That's all. What else should I say?" She laughed. "You really changed." I almost smiled. "No." I looked at her. I just stopped waiting. Her expression changed slightly. Before she could answer, Victoria's assistant walked over. "Ethan, Victoria wants to see you." Madison looked toward the elevator, then back at me. "Per?" I nodded. "Yes." She smiled. "So, it's true." "What?" "You're with Victoria Hayes." I didn't respond. Madison stepped closer. "Ethan, do you really think this is love?" My eyebrows tightened. "What are you talking about?" "She's powerful. She's rich. She controls everything around her." She lowered her voice. "Do you really think someone like her can love someone like you?" I stared at her. Because those words sounded familiar, not because Madison said them, because I had thought them myself for years. When I entered Victoria's office, she immediately noticed something was wrong. "What happened?" I shook my head. "Nothing." She looked at me. "Ethan, what?" "You're terrible at lying." I sighed. Madison is back. The change in Victoria's expression was instant. Not anger, not jealousy, fear. I noticed Victoria. She looked away. "I know who she is." "You do?" "She contacted some investors yesterday." I frowned. "Why?" "Because she's working with my competitor." Of course. Everything connected. Madison wasn't just returning. She had a reason. Victoria stood up. "She wants to create a problem." I looked at her. "She thinks she can break us." Victoria didn't answer. That bothered me. "Victoria." She looked at me. "What?" "You're worried." She was silent. Then she admitted. "Yes." I had never heard her admit that so quickly. "Why?" She walked toward the window. "Because she knows you." I frowned. So she knows things about you that I don't." That surprised me. Victoria Hayes, the woman who faced billion-dollar lawsuits without blinking, was worried about my ex-girlfriend. I walked closer. Are you jealous? She looked at me for a second. She looked offended. Then she looked embarrassed a little. I couldn't help smiling. You? Yes. You're Victoria Hayes. And you don't get jealous. She crossed her arms. I do now. I laughed, and for the first time that day, she smiled. But Madison wasn't finished. That afternoon, she invited me to meet. I almost refused, but I wanted answers. I wanted to know what she was planning. When I arrived, she was already waiting. Thanks for coming. Make it quick. She looked at me. You really love her? Yes. The answer came immediately. Madison looked surprised. You didn't even think? No. She sighed. That's what I don't understand. What? How did you go from being the guy who waited years for me? She paused. To being someone a woman like Victoria Hayes would choose. I didn't answer because I finally understood something. Madison still saw the old Ethan. The man who wasn't confident. The man who questioned his own worth, but that man was gone. Madison leaned forward. Ethan, I can help you. I almost laughed. With what? With getting what you deserve. I stared at her. What does that mean? She smiled. You don't belong behind Victoria. You belong beside someone who understands your world. I stood up. My world? Yes. I shook my head. You left because you thought my world wasn't enough. Her face changed. That was different. No. I looked at her. It wasn't. I walked away, but before I left, I heard her say, "You'll regret choosing her." I stopped, then turned. No. I looked at her. The only thing I regret is that I spent so much time thinking I wasn't good enough. That night, Victoria was waiting for me. She didn't ask what happened. She simply looked at me. Did you choose me? I smiled. Yes. Her eyes softened. Why? I walked closer. Because when everyone else saw your power, I took her hand. You saw my value. For a moment, she said nothing. Then she hugged me and I realized something. Madison had returned to remind me of who I used to be. But Victoria had shown me who I could become. A private photo, a false story, and this time the entire world believed it. The headline was everywhere. Victoria Hayes manipulated employee into relationship. And suddenly, the woman who had protected me from everyone needed me to protect her. When I saw the headline, my first reaction was anger. Not because people were talking about me. I had dealt with rumors before. People could call me lucky. They could call me unqualified. They could say I was only with Victoria because of her money. I could handle that. But they were attacking Victoria. That was different because I knew the truth. I knew the woman behind the headlines. I knew the woman who stayed awake for employees who would never know her name. I knew the woman who secretly paid for an employee's medical bills but refused to take credit. I knew the woman who pretended she didn't care because caring had always been her weakness. And now people were trying to turn that kindness into a weapon. I walked into Victoria's office. She was already there sitting behind her desk looking at dozens of reports, but she wasn't reading them. I could tell. Victoria. She looked up. Ethan. Her voice was calm. Too calm. What are you doing? Working? No. She looked at me. No, you're pretending. For a second, she said nothing. Then she closed the file. You shouldn't be here. I frowned. What? You should stay away from this. I couldn't believe what I heard. Stay away. Yes, Victoria. They're attacking you because of me. And that's exactly why. She stood up. You don't understand. Then explain. Her expression changed. I spent my entire life building this company. I know. I spent years proving that I wasn't just someone's daughter. I know. I fought everyone who thought I was weak. Her voice became quieter. And now they're saying I lost everything because I fell in love. I stepped closer. Is that what you believe? She looked away. I knew the answer. She did. Victoria. She didn't respond. Look at me. Slowly, she did. I didn't fall in love with you because you're a CEO. I paused. I didn't fall in love with you because you're powerful. Another step closer. I fell in love with you because you're the person who stayed late helping an employee who couldn't afford surgery. Her eyes changed. I fell in love with you because you remember everyone's birthdays, but pretend you don't care. I smiled. I fell in love with you because you're the strongest person I know. Silence. Then she whispered, "What if I lose everything?" I answered immediately. "Then we rebuild." Her eyes widened slightly. Yes. I held her hand. "You keep thinking you're alone." I looked at her. "You're not anymore." The board meeting was scheduled for the next day. The goal was simple. They wanted Victoria to publicly distance herself from me. Their argument was that investors needed confidence. Their solution was that I had to disappear. When Victoria told me, I wasn't surprised, but I was disappointed. Not in her, in them. They really think I'm the problem. I said. Victoria looked at me. They think you're a distraction. I smiled. Then let's prove them wrong. She frowned. How? I looked at the documents in my hand by showing them exactly why you trusted me. For 5 years, people thought I was just Victoria's assistant. They were wrong. Before joining Hayes Technologies, I worked in business strategy. I helped small companies survive impossible situations. I noticed things others ignored. And when Madison leaked the story, she made one mistake. She exposed the company's internal records. Records that proved something. The entire rumor was connected to one of Victoria's competitors, and Madison wasn't acting alone. At the board meeting, everyone expected Victoria to apologize. They expected her to look defeated. They expected me to stay silent. They were wrong. Richard Coleman looked at Victoria. "Victoria, the board believes you need to make a difficult decision." Victoria sat there calmly. "What decision?" He looked at me. "Ethan Carter must leave." The room became quiet. Victoria opened her mouth, but before she could speak, I stood up. "No." Everyone looked at me. Richard frowned. "Excuse me." I placed a folder on the table. I said no. One of the executives laughed. "You think you have a choice?" I looked at him. "Yes." I opened the folder because I found something you missed. The smile disappeared from his face. I connected the documents one by one. The fake article, the leaked information, the investor manipulation. Every piece led to the same place. Madison Reed. The room became silent. Richard looked shocked. "How did you get this?" I looked at him because while everyone was trying to destroy Victoria's reputation, I was protecting it. Victoria looked at me. I could see the surprise in her eyes. She didn't know. Nobody knew. Because I had been investigating quietly. Not because I wanted recognition. Because I refused to watch the woman I loved get hurt. Madison joined the meeting through video call. Her expression changed when she saw the evidence. "Ethan," I looked at her. "Why?" She was silent. Then she laughed. "You really chose her?" "Yes." "Over everything?" "Yes." She looked angry. "You have no idea what you're giving up." I shook my head. "No." I looked at Victoria. "I know exactly what I'm choosing." After the meeting, Madison's plan collapsed. The rumors disappeared. The investors returned. The board apologized. But I didn't care about any of that. I only cared about one person. Victoria. When everyone left, she stayed behind. "You did all that for me." I smiled. "Yes." "Why?" I walked toward her. "Because you did the same for me." She looked confused. When I smiled every day for 5 years, that answer broke her defenses. Victoria stepped closer. "You know, yes, I used to think love was a weakness." I smiled, and now. She looked at me. "Now I think losing you would be the only thing that could break me." That night, Victoria came to my apartment again. But this time, she wasn't scared. She wasn't nervous. She simply walked in and sat beside me. You know what's funny? What? The whole world thinks I chased you because of that kiss. I smiled and she leaned against me. They're wrong. Why? Because I fell for you long before that. I looked at her when she smiled. The day you told me my company wasn't worth destroying myself for. I laughed. You remember that? I remember everything about you. I thought the battle was over. I was wrong because 3 days later, Victoria received an invitation, a wedding invitation from someone we never expected. And when she opened it, her face changed because the name on it was someone from her past. Someone who once promised to marry her. Someone who now wanted her back. And he wasn't just another man. He was the most powerful investor in the country. I had faced angry executives. I had faced rumors. I had faced people who believed I wasn't good enough for Victoria. But I wasn't prepared for him. Alexander Sterling. The name alone carried weight. He was one of the most influential investors in the United States. His family controlled billions in assets. Politicians listened to him. Business leaders respected him. And according to everyone who knew Victoria's past, he was the man she was supposed to marry. I still remembered the moment Victoria opened the invitation. Her expression changed, not because she was happy, because she was uncomfortable. Who is he? I asked. She stayed silent. That worried me. Victoria. She looked at me. Alexander Sterling. I knew the name. Everyone did. He wants to see you. She nodded. Why? She looked away. Because he thinks I made a mistake. I frowned. A mistake. Choosing you. Those words bothered me. Not because I believed them. Because I knew someone had probably told her that before. The next day, Alexander came to Hayes Technologies. He didn't come alone. He came with lawyers, assistants, and an entire team of people who looked like they owned the building. When he entered the office, everyone immediately changed their attitude. People respected him. They feared him the same way they once feared Victoria. I watched from the side. Then Alexander saw me. He smiled. So, this is Ethan Carter. I nodded. Yes. He looked me up and down, not openly insulting. That would have been too simple. Instead, he used something worse. Pity. I expected more. I smiled. Most people do. Victoria immediately stepped in. Alexander. His eyes moved to her. Victoria. The way he said her name bothered me. Like he still owned a piece of her. I came because I think we need to talk. Victoria's expression was cold. We don't. He smiled. You haven't even heard what I have to say. I already know. She looked at him. You think I made the wrong choice. Alexander glanced at me. I think you chose emotion over logic. I almost laughed because it sounded exactly like something a board member would say. Victoria didn't. She simply replied, love is not a business decision. Alexander looked surprised. You're saying that? Yes. The room became quiet because everyone knew. Victoria Hayes had changed. Later that afternoon, Alexander requested a private meeting with me. I almost refused, but I wanted to understand him. When I entered the room, he was sitting there waiting. Sit. I sat. He pushed a folder toward me. What is this? Your life before Victoria. I opened it. It contained information about my career, my background, my family, everything. I looked at him. You investigated me. Yes. Why? He leaned back. Because I needed to understand why Victoria chose you. I closed the folder and he smiled. I still don't. I wasn't angry. I actually expected that. You think I'm not good enough? No. His answer surprised me. I think you are good enough then. What's the problem? He looked at me. The problem is that Victoria's world is dangerous. I stayed quiet. He continued, you think loving her is enough? Yes. He shook his head. You don't understand. Then explain. She has enemies. I know she has responsibilities. I know she has people who will hurt anyone close to her. I looked directly at him. Then why did you leave her alone? That stopped him for the first time. His expression changed. Alexander looked away. You don't know our history. No. I stood up. But I know one thing. He looked at me. Victoria spent years surrounded by people who wanted something from her. I paused. I'm not one of them. Then I walked away. That night, Victoria found me sitting quietly. You met Alexander? I nodded. Yes. What did he say? I smiled. He thinks I'm not enough. Victoria immediately became serious. Ethan. I looked at her. What? She sat beside me. Do you believe him? The question surprised me. No. Then why are you quiet? I looked down. Because sometimes I wonder if I'm holding you back. Victoria grabbed my hand. Never say that again. Her voice was firm. I looked at her. You know what Alexander never understood? What? He loved the version of me that looked perfect. She squeezed my hand. You love the version of me that gets tired, that gets scared, that makes mistakes. I smiled. Yes, and that's why I chose you. The next week, Alexander made his final move. He offered Hayes Technologies a massive investment, a deal worth billions. The condition? Victoria had to end her relationship with me. The board immediately supported it. They told Victoria, this is the opportunity of a lifetime. Don't throw it away. Everyone waited for her answer. I thought I knew what she would do. I was wrong because Victoria walked into the boardroom, looked at the contract, then pushed it away. No. The room froze. Richard stared at her. Victoria, do you understand what you're rejecting? Yes. $1 billion opportunity? Yes. For him? Victoria looked calm. No. She looked at everyone for myself. Silence. Then she said, I spent my entire life building a company. She paused. But I refuse to build an empire where I have to lose the person I love. That night, I asked her, are you sure? She looked confused. About what? Choosing me. She smiled. Then she walked closer. Ethan, yes. I chose you when I came to your door. She touched my face. The company, the money, the power. She shook her head. None of that mattered. Then she whispered, I only cared that you were leaving. I thought that was the biggest proof of love Victoria could give me. I was wrong because the next morning, she did something nobody expected. She walked into the company headquarters in front of every employee and announced something that changed our lives forever. I had seen Victoria Hayes control a room before. I had seen her walk into a meeting where everyone doubted her and walk out with a victory. I had seen investors change their opinions because of her confidence. But I had never seen her do what she did that morning. Because this time she wasn't fighting for a company. She wasn't fighting for a deal. She was fighting for us. The entire company gathered in the main hall. Nobody knew why. Executives whispered. Employees looked confused. Even I had no idea what was happening. Victoria stood on stage, calm, confident, the same woman everyone knew. But I knew something they didn't. I knew how much courage it took for her to stand there. Her assistant handed her the microphone. Victoria looked across the crowd. Then she said, I know many of you have questions about my personal life. The room became quiet. I know some people believe my relationship with Ethan Carter was a mistake. I looked around. Everyone was listening. Victoria continued. But I want everyone here to understand something. She turned toward me. Ethan Carter was never a mistake. My heart stopped. She walked toward me. In front of everyone. The woman who never showed weakness reached for my hand. I spent years building this company. She looked at the employees. I spent years proving I was strong enough to do everything alone. Then she looked at me. But Ethan reminded me that strength does not mean standing alone. Nobody spoke. Victoria smiled. He reminded me that even the strongest person deserves someone who asks if they are okay. I felt my eyes becoming warm because those weren't words from a CEO. Those were words from the woman I loved. After the announcement, everyone expected chaos. They expected investors to panic. They expected the board to fight. But something unexpected happened. The employees supported us. People started sending messages. Some said they had never seen Victoria happier. Some said they finally understood why she trusted me. Even Ryan sent me a message. "Dude, you somehow made the Ice Queen smile. I don't know if you're brave or crazy." I laughed. Then Victoria looked at my phone. "What's funny? Ryan thinks I'm crazy." She nodded. "He's probably right." I looked at her. "Excuse me." She smiled. "But I like that about you." A few weeks later, life started becoming normal, or at least normal for us. Victoria was still the CEO. She still worked hard. She still scared people in meetings. But things changed. She laughed more. She took breaks. She stopped pretending she didn't need anyone. And the biggest change, she stopped hiding me. Before, people saw me as the employee who worked beside Victoria Hayes. Now they saw me as the man she chose. One evening, I came home and found Victoria waiting. She was holding a small box. I immediately became nervous. "What is that?" She looked confused. "A box." "Victoria." She smiled. "You're nervous. You're Victoria Hayes holding a mysterious box. Anyone would be nervous." She opened it. Inside was a watch. Not an expensive one. Not something from a luxury brand. Just a simple watch. I looked at her. "What is this?" She shrugged. "A reminder of what?" "That time matters." I smiled. "You bought me a watch to remind me of time." "No." She looked at me. "To remind you that I wasted too much of it." I became quiet, she continued. "I spent 5 years standing next to you." A pause. "And I was too afraid to admit I wanted more." She touched the watch. "I don't want to waste another day." That night, I finally understood something. Victoria Hayes was not afraid of losing money. She was not afraid of losing power. She was not afraid of losing a company. The one thing that terrified her was losing me. A month later, I planned my proposal. Everyone thought Victoria would be the one to propose. They were right. She already had once, but I wanted to do it properly. Not because I had to, because I wanted her to know. I wasn't staying because she was powerful. I wasn't staying because she could give me anything. I was staying because she was the person I wanted beside me. The night I proposed, Victoria looked completely shocked. For the first time in years, Victoria Hayes had no words. I held the ring. "Victoria." She looked at me. "I know you're used to controlling everything." She smiled slightly. "That's true, but I want you to know something." I took her hand. "You don't have to control this." Her expression softened. "Ethan, I choose you." I paused. "Not because you're Victoria Hayes, CEO." I smiled. "But because you're Victoria." She cried just a little. The same woman who could negotiate billion-dollar contracts without emotion cried because of a ring. Then she laughed. "You realize something?" "What?" "You made the Ice Queen cry." I smiled. "I'll keep it a secret." She shook her head. "No." She stepped closer. "I want everyone to know. Our wedding was small. Not because Victoria couldn't afford a huge one. She could have invited thousands. But she didn't want a performance. She wanted something real. The people who mattered were there. Her closest friends, my family, the people who watched our story from the beginning. When Victoria walked toward me, everyone looked at her. But I didn't see the CEO. I didn't see the billionaire. I didn't see the Ice Queen. I saw the woman who knocked on my door that night. The woman who was brave enough to say what she felt. The woman who asked, "When are you going to marry me?" Years later, people still asked me the same question. "How did you get Victoria Hayes to fall in love with you?" And every time I gave the same answer. I didn't. They always think I changed her. They think I melted the Ice Queen, but that's not true. Victoria was never cold. She was just waiting for someone who wasn't afraid to stay. And I almost lost her because I was afraid. I kissed her once while I was drunk. Then I ran, but she came after me. She knocked on my door and the woman everyone called impossible looked at me and said, "Coward, when are you going to marry me?" That was the moment I realized something. Sometimes the person you're running away from is the person who has been waiting for you all along.